On the eastern shores of Lake Van lies a city lost in time. People often travel here for its shopping malls, bars, cafes and restaurants, and sometime for a boat ride on the lake. But few people are aware that this city was the home to a powerful kingdom that thrived 3,000 years ago. The city was named Tushpa, the capital of the Kingdom of Urartu. Excavations at Tushpa have yielded remarkable discoveries. The Urartians were masters of pottery and metalwork. They crafted exquisite bronze objects. Weapons, shields and helmets were adorned with intricate designs. Men often wore wide belts made of bronze. Animals, mythical creatures and scenes of daily life were common themes. Dominating the skyline of modern Van is an impressive sight, a 2,900-year-old fortress. Today we can still walk among the ruins. It's a long walk to get to the top. But at the top you can gaze upon the shimmering waters of Lake Van. The fortress was built for regional control and defense, guarding the city from raids and invasions. In Urartian society, women played a vital role. One fascinating aspect of their culture was the ritual feasts. This reconstructed model shows women gathered to prepare and share elaborate meals. Weaving was another important skill for Urartian women. They created beautiful textiles. The women's weaving skills were highly valued.
Several archaeological researches have been performed in this place, and in one of those researches, they found evidence of ancient soot. And the soot wasn't just in one single place, it was in different places all over the fortress. Therefore, there is some evidence that this place was burned down, sometimes in the 6th century BC. And in this video, I'm going to find out who did it and why. So a part of this fortress is reconstructed and a part of it is still in the original version, and it's important to be able to distinguish between them. For example, these rocks here, they are huge in size. These were brought here by the Kingdom of Urartu. But on the left, that wall was reconstructed by the Ottoman Empire, and those rocks are much smaller in size. Another example is that wall, that's a mud brick wall. It was built by the Urartu. But if you see a wall that looks like this one, they were reconstructed, possibly in the past few centuries. The boundaries of the Kingdom of Urartu encompasses 3 countries today: Armenia, Turkey, and Iran. And most of the evidence that I'm looking for are located in Iran. So let's go straight to our first piece of evidence. It's an inscription, 2,800 years old. So that's me running. The inscription is in such a remote place that there are no roads nearby. It's just walking and walking. And that may be the reason why it remained hidden for the past 2,700 years. It was rediscovered in the 1960s. It was placed here by an Urartu king named Sarduri. And there it is.
The war chariot of Kaldi has moved. He invaded Kadiauni, the king of Puluwadi. Puluwadi is a mountainous region. By Kaldi's might, the chariot prevailed and conquered. He is Sarduri Argishi's son. Sarduri says, "I captured 21 fortresses. In a single day I conquered 45 cities. Liblium, royal city which had been besieged. Sarduri, the mighty king, the great king. King of territories. King of territory of Biaini and lord of Tushpa city.
According to the inscription, Urartu was pushing into the territories of other civilizations that were native here, and none of them were a good match for the powerful military of Urartu. Urartu had the second strongest military in the Middle East, right after the Assyrian Empire. Urartu was the second kingdom in the world that had a standing army, professional soldiers, after the Assyrian Empire, and their army had about 50 to 70,000 soldiers. Their soldiers were divided to two groups, spearmen and archers, and the highest concentration of their army was in their capital, Tushpa. So I'm going to travel to the next destination now. It's a very small village. The population is less than 5,000 people. And the Urartians have left a fortress in there. So from this angle, you can see walls have been digged out of the ground. The excavations were done in the 1960s by German archaeologists, and these walls belong to a large fortress about 2,800 years old. And once again, a portion of this fortress has been reconstructed to give us an idea of how it looked like in the past, and a section of it is still in the original version. So let's go take a look. This was the main part of the fortress, and it was large in size. And if you look here, the walls of the fortress stretched for about 1 kilometer in this direction. These are the remnants of that wall. There were 2 layers of walls actually, preventing the enemy from climbing up the mountain and then coming back from this direction. Typical Urartu walls. Large in size, heavy, and they spent time shaping the rocks so they would fit each other nicely, like the pieces of a jigsaw puzzle. And then they would fill the gaps with mud, and then they would cover the whole thing in mud as well. That used to be an ancient trade route.
This ancient trade route reached the second L inscription from the east, and from the west it stretched to Tushpa. The route's total length was about 700 kilometers, and Bastam Fortress was built right in its path. Several more fortresses were discovered on the path of this trade route. All were built between 850 to 700 BC. Bastam was the largest Urartian fortress on this route, but during Rusa's reign the fortress was conquered, burnt down and not resettled again.
Trade was one of the most important elements of human civilizations. The survival of the kingdoms and empires was dependent on the trade routes, so they had to be controlled and they had to be secured, specifically from nomadic invasions. So here we have evidence that the Kingdom of Urartu was expanding into the east while taking control of the trade routes. Nomadic invasions was one of the biggest threats to the existence of the kingdoms and empires in the past. Now, one of these groups of nomads in the Middle East will become seriously problematic, not just for Urartu, but also for the Assyrian Empire. This map gives us a general idea of the situation back then. So here we have the Kingdom of Urartu. On the south, we have the powerful Assyrian Empire, and they are surrounded by a whole bunch of Iranian nomadic tribes, such as the Medes in the east, the Cimmerians in the north, the Scythians all the way in the north, and the Persians somewhere here. So we have evidence of serious conflict between these two kingdoms and the towns, cities, and tribes on the east. We don't know exactly what the source of this conflict was. There are two possibilities. First, these two kingdoms were trying to expand their borders into the east, so they invaded the villages and towns, and in response, the Iranian tribes fought back. Second possibility, the people of Zagros were raiding the trade routes, causing extreme instability in the region, and in response, these two kingdoms were invading them, trying to bring back stability and control into the area. Let me show you another inscription by the Kingdom of Urartu. It was placed in Zagros sometimes around 800 BC.
Through the might of Kaldi, Argishi Rusahini says, I campaign in the land of Arhu. I conquered the land of Ushulu and Buka. I reached the bank of Mona River. There I turned, I conquered the land of Girdu, Gituha and Tuishtu. The lands I conquered I placed under tribute. I subjugated the hostile lands. Argishi, the mighty king, the great king, the king of the universe. Whoever damages this inscription or erases my name, Shuini, erase him under the sun.
Long story short, plenty of these inscriptions were placed in Zagros by the Assyrians, by the Urartu, and rarely do any of them carry a message of peace, hope, love, compassion. Most of them have this threatening language. They talk about capturing, conquering, subjugating, and killing, giving us an idea of the situation and atmosphere back then. So, let's see how the story ends.
In 612 BC, a coalition of enemies united against the weakened Assyrian Empire. This coalition was a mixed bag of ancient powers, each with their own grudges against Assyria. The Babylonians, under King Nabopolassar, were once vassals of the Assyrians. They longed for independence. The Medes, a powerful Iranian people from the east, had suffered under Assyrian aggression. They were eager for revenge. The Scythians, fierce nomadic warriors from the steppes of Central Asia, joined the fray. They were known for their equestrian skills and ruthlessness in battle. The Cimmerians, another nomadic group, added to the chaos, raiding and pillaging across the region. The Persians, under their ambitious king, also saw an opportunity in the Assyrian decline. The combined might of the Babylonians, Medes, and their allies proved to be too much for the weakened Assyrian army. The once mighty city of Nineveh, the Assyrian capital, fell after a lengthy siege. The city was sacked and burned. It stood as a testament to the brutality of ancient warfare. The fall of Assyria was not just a military defeat. It was a cataclysmic event that sent shockwaves throughout the ancient Near East. The Assyrian Empire had been the dominant power in the region for centuries. Its sudden collapse created a power vacuum that would have far-reaching consequences. The Kingdom of Urartu, located in the Armenian Highlands, had been a close ally of the Assyrian Empire. It had benefited from Assyrian protection. However, with the fall of Assyria, Urartu found itself isolated and vulnerable. The kingdom was surrounded by enemies. These included the Medes to the east and the Cimmerians and Scythians to the north. The Urartian army, though well-trained and equipped, was small compared to the forces of its enemies. The kingdom's mountainous terrain, which had once served as a natural barrier, now made it difficult to defend against invaders. The Urartians were eventually outmatched and outmaneuvered. Sometimes in 570 BC, the Medes and other Iranian tribes entered the capital of Urartu, Tushpa. In the battle, Tushpa is thoroughly destroyed and burned down. The evidence of burning still exists almost 3 millennia after. Urartu are forced into an irreversible retreat. They migrate back to the Armenian Highlands, and they disappear from historical records.
I'm standing behind the Van fortress, and there's something else I have to show you. It's way up on the cliffs. Let me see if I can zoom in with this lens. And judging by the way this video was made, you may already guess what it is. And you would be right. An inscription. There. So this was not made by the Urartu, actually. This was made by a Persian king named Xerxes in the 4th century BC. The content of the writing is irrelevant at this point. What matters is that the Persians were here. They had captured this city, they had captured this fortress, and they had placed this inscription up there on the rocks. If you're interested in the rest of the story, you can watch the video on this channel called The Rise of the Persians. For now, thank you for watching.